Greetings from Aptitude Buster. I believe that your preparations for TCS NQT will be in full swing, and especially for the English section, by now your preparation must have gathered momentum. The question type will test you on grammar or on your vocabulary skills or on your ability to understand a text. There can be only these three parameters that can be largely tested irrespective of any question type that you have in verbal aptitude. So with this as a base, we will discuss fruitful strategies in order to get answers more quickly and accurately. As far as the first parameter is concerned, I would say you can expect questions sentence correction or spotting errors. These two question types may differ in the question format, yet they almost test the same concepts. So in this video, I will call it the first part. We will discuss how to answer questions much faster. I like to begin with the sentence correction question type. Those who have some familiarity with these question type, there wouldn't be a trouble. For those who have no clue about this question type, I'll tell you this is called sentence correction, wherein you will be given only a sentence. This is a logic that you should remember. Be it for spotting errors or sentence correction, will always be given a sentence. If it's sentence correction, as you see in this example, a part of the sentence will be underlined and option A is always the underlined portion. Or in other words, option A repeats the question. So the hidden logic is, if you think that the given sentence is error-free, you need to pick option A. On the other hand, if you think the sentence needs correction, you need to exclude option A and need to pick it from the other three options. How to get it is what the discussion now. What are the steps if you get a question from sentence correction? As I already said, the format has been discussed. You will be given a sentence of which a portion of the sentence will be underlined and option A will always repeat the question. In such cases, step 1 is to read the entire sentence. Step 2, as you read, you should know the subject of the sentence. And step 3, for you to proceed further, you would always rely on non-underlined segment. You have to pick clues from the non-underlined segment. I'll show you how, and with that, we can very quickly solve these sort of questions. You can take few seconds time to read the question. You can pause the video, even if it take more than a minute's time, no problem. Read the sentence, try to understand what the sentence talks about, and try to identify the subject. Well, you must have read it by now. As you complete reading the sentence, you can very well understand the sentence involves a comparison. The moment you understand that there is a comparison involved, find out the elements of comparison. The elements, I mean what's being compared with what. You need to have at least two entities to have a comparison. A should be compared with B, X should be compared with Y, or X should be compared with many others. So I'm just giving you a contextual clue. You have read a sentence and you have understood the sentence has involved a comparison, and in this case, yes, there is a comparison involved. Find out what's being compared. As you try to find out, you may think a glass of water is being compared. I warn you, do not make this mistake. If you say that one element being compared in this sentence is a glass of water, you are making a serious mistake, because you are picking the clue from the underlined portion. Never pick clue from underlined portion, rather pick clues from non-underlined portion. So yes, there is a clue. Towards the end of the sentence, it reads, so melting sea ice does not increase oceanic volume. So we are very sure that one element of comparison is melting sea ice. You can go to the options. Since you already read the question, now it's easier. There are two options beginning with a glass of water, and there are two other options that talks about melting ice cubes. You ask yourself, will you compare melting sea ice with ice cubes or the glass of water? Within no time, you can understand you cannot compare a glass of water with sea ice. So option A and option D gets eliminated. You are left with just two choices, option B and option C. Read through it, and as you read option B, you will understand this word that is not necessary. Therefore, the right choice for this question is option C. I'd like to take you through a few more questions, and in this video, I'm gonna discuss most prominent and most challenging question types, because I told you I'm under the presumption that you've already gone through my concept video and mobile app. If not, I would advise you to do so before moving further. Read the sentence. You can take some moments time. It says, on Discovery Channel last night, they showed an informative program about new innovations in medical imaging, which you would have found interesting. I've chosen this question type because this is one of the most prominent error type that you could expect in this format, because all we know is you may get few questions to check your grammatical accuracy. It may be sentence correction or it may be spotting errors. So as we prepare, we will be preparing for both the formats. One is sentence correction, the other one is spotting errors. This question or the logic in this question can only be tested in sentence correction. So read through it. I've given you the clue now. Try to get the clue. Is there any clue for you to get the answer for this question in less than 20 seconds? Yeah, you tell me that it is really challenging. To a certain extent, what you feel is right. This is one of the most challenging question type, because in spoken English, that's how we speak. On Discovery Channel, they showed this is how it begins, right? When you use a pronoun, here this pronoun is wrongly used. This pronoun is wrongly substituting Discovery Channel. So you should never have this pronoun here. If you apply that, if you pick that clue, you can easily eliminate options A, B and C, and you're left with the only choice, option D. On Discovery Channel last night, there was an informative program. On Discovery Channel last night, there was an informative program about innovations in medical imaging, a program you would have found interesting. There is no need for the pronoun they here, and moreover that the use of pronoun they is a wrong representation. Therefore, be watchful to have these sort of clues. And I'm beginning with contextual clues. All I talk about is read the sentence, try to understand the meaning. As you understand the meaning, you can gather clues. And I have also given you the steps. The first step is read the sentence, and second step is to identify the subject. Next question. After working for 2 hours, the essay started to take shape and he began to hope that he might finish before the deadline. Now, this logic is again typical of sentence correction question type. I like to describe the logic behind here so that you can very well pick the clues if you happen to get a question from this error type. Whenever you have a descriptive phrase, the phrase itself is very simple for you. The phrase itself is self-explanatory. That is, instead of a sentence beginning with usual SVO pattern, if a sentence begins with a descriptive phrase is nothing but a phrase that begins with a description. The logic that you need to remember is the word after the description, especially when you have a descriptive phrase, there will be a comma, and this comma will be serving as a pointer. That is, after the comma, the first noun should, we can say the word or noun, the first noun should substantiate the description. The first noun after the comma should substantiate the description. Remembering this clue is more than sufficient for you to answer these sort of questions. After working for 2 hours, this begins with the descriptive phrase, as I said. There is a comma, so this pointer gives us the clue that the description is ended. So after the comma, the first noun should substantiate the description. Look here, after working for 2 hours, the essay, does it mean, or going by option A, can essay work for 2 hours? Ridiculous, right? So it can't be the essay working for 2 hours, it should be a person. So use that clue. Remember this clue and try to keep this logic while you start exploring the other 3 choices. Look at option B. When the essay started to take shape after he had worked on it for 2 hours, it makes sense because it's a person who can work on an essay for 2 hours. Keep this option reserved. Option C, once again, yes, can be reserved. Look at option D. When the essay started to take shape after working on it for 2 hours. So again, is ambiguous. This is not clear to say who worked on the essay. Therefore, option D can be eliminated. You are left with 2 options, option B and option C. Maybe on the first look, these 2 options may look similar, but try to understand the fact, guys. You cannot have 2 answer choices with similar features. They have to be dissimilar, right? So look for dissimilarities. As you do, option B says began and option C says begun. Begin, began, begin. Present, past, past participle, and always past participle will take a helping verb or an auxiliary verb. Without that, it cannot stand on its own. Thereby, we can be very sure to pick option B as the answer choice for this question. Well, I'd like to discuss one more question on the same question type, and I'd like to introduce you to the next question format. You take a moment's time, read the question, and I give you a promise here for this question. If you read it clearly, within no time, out of the 4 options, you will easily eliminate one option. Try to figure out which option that can be easily eliminated after the moment that you complete reading it. Most of you would have got it correctly. The moment you complete reading the question, you would have easily eliminated option D because option D begins with the word yet. And the sentence begins with the word despite, and most importantly, this word is not in the underlined segment, which means this segment is non-underlined, and always non-underlined portions or correct. If you already began a sentence with despite, you cannot use the word yet again. Thereby, option D gets eliminated. Option A, option B, option C, just now discussed, maybe on the first look they look similar. In such cases, try to look for dissimilarities. As you do, you will understand option A talks about, option A says have not risen, option B says have not risen, and option C says has not risen. So just using the logic of elimination, we can pick option C as the answer, but I don't think that's a healthy practice for you to rely on these tools without understanding the logic thoroughly. So I like to explain this logic with example. Please listen. Look at this example. Accidents in metros like Mumbai and Chennai. There is a blank. You've been given two options. Option 1 is the word is and option 2 is the word are. Dash increasing day by day. If you're given this example, within no time, I would say that you would pick the verb are as the right thing. And you are indeed right. I like to give you another example. If I add a phrase, the number of accidents in metros like Mumbai and Chennai, which verb will you choose? Will you choose the verb is or will you choose the verb are? If you are in doubt, never doubt. Of course, if you have a doubt, I do understand your doubt is really valid, because all we understand and what we have understood is whenever we use a singular noun, we will take singular verb, or in other words, as you talk about subject verb agreement, it's always singular noun should take singular verb and plural noun should take plural verb. But the problem here is you have been given a phrase which consists of singular noun and plural noun. That's where the trouble is. Look at this phrase. There has been a mix of singular noun and plural noun. Number is singular, accidents is plural. So this is a mix. So when you're given a mix of singular and plural noun, it is quite reasonable for you to have a doubt whether to go for a singular subject or a plural subject. Now I'm going to give the simplest clue. Whenever you have such lengthy phrases comprising singular and plural noun, always consider the first noun into account. Always consider the first noun into account. Okay? If the first noun is singular, verbs will be singular. If the first noun is singular, verb should be singular. If the first noun is plural, verb should be plural. Here, look at the case. Number. Is it singular or plural? It is singular. Thereby, the verb must be singular. You can remember this, and this is the most frequent question type, be it on sentence correction or spotting error. Definitely you can expect a question on this error type. That is, you'll be given a lengthy noun phrase comprising a singular and plural noun, and you would be asked to check the correct, you would be tested on subject verb agreement. Look at this case. The proportion of judges and partners at major law firms who are women. Proportion is singular, judges plural, partners plural, law firms plural, women plural. So don't be bothered. Let it be a noun phrase comprising as many plural noun and singular noun. Whichever the case, you will always consider the first noun into account. Here the first noun is proportion. It is singular, thereby you can be very sure in picking option C as the answer for this question. Now, I've given you a glimpse on sentence correction. Again, I take logical approach and I provide you contextual clues in getting closer to the answer. And here our prerequisite is to gain speed, because that's what the requirement is. We need to answer 15 questions in 10 minutes. So we have discussed one format. If need be, if you want to have a thorough idea on sentence correction, do watch sentence correction video either in our mobile app or in YouTube channel. Now, the next format, again, spotting errors, quite familiar format, but the logic that you need to remember remains the same. I said even for sentence correction question, you will be given a sentence. So is the case with spotting errors as well. You will be always given one sentence. Thereby, step 1 remains the same. Step 1 remains the same. Read the entire sentence. Don't read it block by block. Don't read A segment, B segment, C segment, D segment. Likewise, please read it as a complete unit. Read it as a sentence. As I said, the entire question is one sentence. As you do, identify the subject. Unlike the sentence correction format, I can't ask you to pick clues from the non-underlined portion. So which means comparatively sentence correction is simpler than spotting error questions. Well, here we need to read the sentence. We need to identify the subject. Let's move forward. Look at the first example. Illiteracy is an enormous problem. It affects millions of people worldwide and is an impediment to social progress. Whenever you're on spotting errors, the first thing that you need to look for is subject-verb agreement. Always check whether the given sentence subject, the subject of the given sentence and the verb agree. If they agree, well, you look for other error type. If they don't, you can easily spot the error and move on. Let's try. Illiteracy is an enormous problem. Yes, illiteracy is singular, there isn't any issue. But don't stop there. As I said earlier, don't stop reading segment by segment. Read it as the entire sentence. Illiteracy is an enormous problem. It affects. You all know third person singular will take verb with yes while you deal with present tense categories. You know that whenever we use third person singular, he, she, or it. When we use third person singular, the verb should take an S. If it is simple present tense. Right? So look here, illiteracy is an enormous problem. Of course, this is simple present tense. Here, the verb should be it affects. Option B is the answer for the first question. Look at the second question. Western culture have influenced many people in India in a very powerful way. Western culture, is it singular or plural? Of course, it's a collective noun and all collective nouns are singular. Thereby, have is wrong. It must be has. This is one of the most prominent error types. I would say if you happen to have spotting error questions, please try to apply the logic of subject-verb agreement in the first place. I'll introduce two other prominent error types as well. The other types I call it as usage, which is certainly indefinite. There are many conventions of English which could be tested through spotting error format, especially the usage. So I want to give you a sample of usage based errors. Try to see how far you could gather from the examples which I gave you. Seema has won this year's Sahitya Academy Award for her book Tears of Joy, which comprises of 16 poems. My recommendation is, whenever you are on a sentence correction, spotting error question, I always advise you to look for subject verb agreement. Seema, singular, has won, singular. So there isn't any trouble because that's only place where the verb is. Seema has won this year's Sahitya Academy Award for her book Tears of Joy, which comprises, so first logic, subject verb agreement is intact, comprises, so you're talking about a book again, third person singular, comprises, right. But usage wise, you can understand, we will either use the word consists of or comprise. We will never use comprise of. It is one of the conventions in English which you're supposed to know. Therefore, for this question, the answer is option D. It must be, that is, in this case, the preposition of should be removed. For you to give an example, it's like, in spite of or despite, either or. We will never use despite of. Either we say in spite of or we say despite. Or if you want to give other example, either we use the word suppose or if. So these are all few clues which may help you. As I said, usage based error types are plenty. I'm just giving you samples. Look at the next one. Although there are some similarities in the qualification of both candidates, the differences among them are considerably pronounced. Here, I don't want to take much time in saying that in this case, subject verb agreement is intact, because as you read, you're supposed to find out these things, and if you need to check it, do check it. Here, the subject and verb agreement is intact. This question certainly tests you on the convention. Whenever you use the word among, it should always be used for more than two, and you will use the word between for two persons. Remember this. The clue in the sentence is both candidates. So you're discussing only two candidates. Therefore, the word among is wrong. The error lies in option C. Instead of among, it should be differences between. Likewise, you need to pick some clues. Try to gather these sort of clues for usage based errors. Now, I like to introduce you to one more error type, and there I like to stop with this segment. This is also a prominent question type. I call it conditional clauses or if clauses. Please go through the conditional clauses segment in spotting error video of mine. You will clearly understand that this is the easiest one that could be remembered. There are just three conditions. We call it probable condition, improbable condition, and less probable condition. So when we say that there are only three conditions, there can be only three set patterns possible. Remember those set patterns and come back to this question type, and within no time you can easily pick it. That is one way, that is the easiest clue for you to gain a good grip over this logic. If it's not possible for you, then certainly it will be difficult. So please go through that video go through that concept video and try to understand those three set patterns. Now look here, a recent study shows that if you were sleep deprived for 72 hours, the stress hormone levels will rise and the brain stops making new cells. For this question, even if you have no idea about conditional clauses, you can pick the answer going by the contextual meaning. As you read this sentence, you will clearly understand this sentence is in present tense. A recent English study shows and the brain stops making new cells. So which means this is a probable condition, and in a probable condition, the if clause must be in simple present tense instead of where it should be. If you are sleep deprived for 72 hours, the stress hormones will rise and the brain stops making new cells. So as I said, either if you have gone through the conditional clauses logic, you could easily understand. If not, you can easily look for mismatch of tense forms. Here you have one verb in present tense, there is another verb in past tense. If you have a quick eye to these clues, probably you can solve more questions quickly and accurately. Last question, had he not left the school before the final examination, he would stand first. This is the third condition, we call it less probable condition. Either we could say if he had not left the school, or we can say had he not left the school. Either we can say if he had not left, or we can say had he not left the school before final examination. The verb form in segment D is wrong. Here it should be he would have stood first. For this question, answer is option D. The correction is would have stood first. Hey guys, you know what I'm doing here? For spotting error questions, the recommend is for you to spot where the error lies. But unless you know thoroughly the logic, it's very difficult for you to spot where exactly the error is. You might be dangling between option A or option B or option C or option D. That's the reason I spotted the error and have given you the correction, so that if you learn, or while you learn spotting errors or be it error correction, while you learn it through logic, while you learn it through concepts, you can very well save time. And for spotting error questions, if you are very sound with the logic, the way which I introduced to, you can solve questions in less than 30 seconds. Wish you all the very best. Keep going with your preparation. Take the help of our mobile app. We've been giving you free access till this TCS NQT. Therefore, make use of it, and I wish you all the very best till I meet you in the next segment.